So in the next half-month, Yan Beiqing pretended to be very interested in him, and took him to talk about nature. After fresh energy, he fell down with Nanha day by day. In fact, they are also quietly observing. On the other hand, there is another scene. Ning Changji seems to be very interested in her. Whenever she is watching Yan Beiqing and Nanha play, she is jealous. Ning Changji always appears beside her with a smile and says, "Men are really not a good thing." Mo Shanghua didn't pay attention to it at first, but in addition to irritability, her vigilance became stronger and stronger every day. This day, Mo Shanghua saw Yan Beiqing and Nan He get out of the carriage together, then turned around and went to the temporary inn to breathe. Now, as long as she saw Yanbei and Nanha together, she would avoid them directly. It would be clear if she couldn't see them. Rather familiar with the slow behind her, follow her steps to stop. Miss Mu. Since he began to nag around the flower every day, he never called her princess. Mo Shanghua frowns, turns to see him. The Mao inside has already written a few minutes impatient, seemed to have anticipated what he wants to say. I think she is also a happy person, but now she is upset day by day because of these little things. In the end, she is sensitive and sentimental. As if he could not see the impatience of the flowers on the street, he continued to speak his own words. Mo Shanghua used to ignore it, but today he was very upset, so he said, "But I'm also a secular person. If you can't stand worldly affairs, why don't you hide in your witch fairy family and avoid the world?" Ning knew it, but he laughed, with a faint self-mockery in his smile. "When I stepped out of the Wuxian clan, I became a secular man." After a pause, his eyes darkened a little, and he said, "There are also mortals in the family. If there are mortals, some things will never be avoided." So he suddenly came out of the Wuxian clan, and he really had a purpose. At present, there is no one in the courtyard. The flower moves in her heart and suddenly draws out the dagger between her wrists, which is across Ning's neck. The blade seemed to be covered with a layer of ice, cold and piercing. "First you met Jiai, and then you instigated the relationship between Yan Beiqing and me intentionally or unintentionally. What's your purpose?" Mo Shanghua's cold and beautiful face has been covered with frost. She asks in a cold voice. There was a chill in my neck, but I didn't show any fear in my eyes. I replied blankly. "What do you mean, girl? There may be some misunderstanding?" With that, he explained to himself. The first meeting was just an accident. Later, I really don't know where to start. When did I provoke your relationship? Mo Shanghua saw that he was so calm, so he had the bottom in his heart, but the dagger in his hand didn't close but stuck tightly to his neck. What's the matter with Shui? I don't believe in such a coincidence. Rather no of silence down, for a long time, just a wry smile. This matter I really have something to hide. His vision became more and more distant and complicated. Where there are people in the world, there is no need to fight for power and status. Shui has been with me since she was a child, so she can't help thinking about me. The meaning of this is Shui's own opinion, which he didn't know before. Mo Shanghua sneers in her heart. There is no color of belief in her eyes. She is full of suspicions. Ning Huiji sighed and said, "This is true. If you don't believe it, you can take it away." Said simply closed his eyes, a pair of laissez-faire appearance. If someone else had changed, she would have believed him. But what a warning Mo Shanghua was. The more he was, the more suspicious she was. She wanted to see if the son was so innocent that he didn't even care about his own life. Thinking about this, she just deviated a little bit from the edge of the sword, then suddenly very unexpectedly raised high, sharp fall. However, before the edge of the sword had time to fall on Ning Tongji's neck, which had been marked with a bloodstain, he was deflected by the flying sword. Then, the flower in the street saw Shui sweeping towards herself with a sharp sword. Although Shui comes from a hermit family like the witch fairy family, it doesn't seem to be as powerful as the rumor. After only a few rounds, she has become less and less popular. Dang! Shui takes a sword from Mo Shanghua, and the palm of her hand suddenly makes a crisp sound. The palm of her hand is shocked, and the software in her hand is almost out of hand. Bitch! Shui can't help but scold a low. The Mao inside gradually gave birth to ruthless idea. She stepped back a few steps, her mouth opened and closed, but she could not hear the slightest sound, which made people feel strange. In the air, it seems that something invisible is brewing slowly and restlessly. The flower on the street is also in the strange, and is planning to observe it, but Ning Tong's face suddenly changes a little, and quickly steps forward to hold Xue Xue's wrist. Xue Xue's lips suddenly closed and looked at the flowers on the street. Holy Sun, she just wanted your life. She has to pay for what she does. Said she simply don't play those tricks. Directly raised the sword will be stabbed into the key of flowers. This time, Ning was not stopping. Mo Shanghua's eyes narrowed, and she was about to meet her, but her body suddenly lightened, and a familiar breath came from the shop. There was a gust of wind in her ears. When she reacted, her body had fallen steadily to one side unharmed. But Yan Beiqing, the master of this breath, had his hair cut off. If Xue Xue had not seen the situation wrong, he would have taken back his sword in a hurry. He was afraid that the assassin would have cut off more than a strand of hair. Just now also a pair of helpless appearance of rather familiar. This just came forward, a face of angry reproach. Xue Xue, you presumptuous. Xue Xue's face sank a little bit, but she still lowered her head. I know my mistake. Go down. Rather familiar with the Loa, adjusted a lower facial expression, just a face sorry to come forward. Is I resist under lax, also hope too don't want to blame. Yan Beiqing is turning around at the moment, pulling Mo Shanghua to look around and check. Seeing that she is not injured, he turns around and says angrily, your maidservant is the killer in pain. How can you erase the matter of Feng Kai at will with such a sentence? Between the words, the color of danger appeared in the depth of his pupils. Nonsense, Xue Xue was furious when she heard that. If I hadn't arrived in time just now, your princess would have killed our son, and now you are still here. What a shame. Yan Beiqing did not move his eyebrows. He could not help but pinch the hand of Mo Shanghua in the palm of his hand. I'm not here just now. Naturally, it's what you say. Xue Xue was so angry that her sword trembled. Xue Xue. Ning Kongji pressed Xue Xue's hand, and his voice was slightly deep. Xue Xue angrily bit her teeth and wrapped her soft sword around her waist. Rather familiar with this slowly began. This matter is pure. I am not strict, has nothing to do with the princess. Mo Shanghua Maoguang swept on his calm face, only to see his face calm and calm. Can't see the slightest clue. Eyebrows now gently frown up. I'm afraid this person is far from being easy to deal with. Just thinking about it, Ning Songji seemed to see what she thought in her heart, and her eyes also turned to her. The princess was just defending herself. There was no malicious assassination, but it was all a misunderstanding. Ignore Xue Xue almost to eat his general eyes. Mo Shanghua looked light nodded. Yes. Just say the next word. She turned and walked in the direction of the camp, saying, the sun is frightened. Take a rest early, so is the king. Yan Beiqing's face turned black for a moment, and his eyes were not good at it. He said coldly, the maidservant around the sun is so fierce, what if she can't restrain her? Now it's almost to the imperial city, and the Son of God is going to split up with us. Finish saying, then throw sleeve and go directly. But don't want to, rather know of don't annoy but smile. It seems what the outside world says is really empty. Instead of lowering his words, he intentionally used some internal power to spread it to Yan Beiqing, who was already gradually moving away. I thought Yan Beiqing would continue to hide, but he didn't want to. He didn't play the cards according to the common sense. He stopped and looked at him in his eyes. It seemed that there was a killing intention in his eyes. In this way, I would rather be familiar with it than understand it. He really couldn't understand how Yan Beiqing, who had tried his best to cover up a few days ago, now gave up the cover-up again. In this way, all his work a few days ago was in vain? Even if he wanted to break his head, he could not guess that the man who had only hatred in his heart could not be touched. A dragon has scales, and those who touch it will die. Of course, in front of Mo Shanghua, he can't even enter the door of Mo Shanghua now. Princess. Yan Beiqing was like a child who had made a mistake. He stood timidly in front of the tent on the street. He had to be careful to be found. Even the princess called in a very low voice. If you don't want to spend many days in vain, please go back. Mo Shanghua's cold voice came from the tent, and it was not hard to hear a bit of anger in his tone. Yan Beiqing knew that it was because he was playing with Nanha today. He just sighed for himself in silence and didn't move at all. I just want to ask if you've hurt yourself. The account was silent for a long time, and the cold and calm voice of the flowers on the street came out. No problem. Although it was a reply, it was just like this after all. There was no more than one sentence. If you have any discomfort, please call me. Yen North City, heart helpless, put down these words, then also returned to his camp. However, he did not go to bed early after returning to the account, but called Mo Ling over. After some explanation, we can have a rest. On the other hand, I still don't sleep well. These days, she always tries her best to cooperate with Yan Beiqing's acting, but she has entered the play. Sometimes, when looking at Yan Beiqing's acting, he looks at Nan He as if she is really in love, but it seems that she is the one who is not in the drama. Who is she? Does she have to be protected like this? Thinking of this, she was more and more unhappy, but at the thought of Yan Beiqing's concerns for her today, she felt a little softer. Just for the time being, some words will hurt people's heart, but it's better to rot in the mouth first. This night it is difficult to move. The next day, Mo Shanghua was awakened by the sound of soldiers outside. She casually put on a piece of clothes and went out to check the situation. As she expected, a large number of people in black came outside. Now they are fighting with the bodyguards brought by Yan Beiqing and the people of Ningtongji. They seem to wake up early and dress neatly, but their current situation is not good. The targets of those people in black are obviously him, and all of them rush to him. The people in Yanbei City can't resist it, and the people who are familiar with it are gradually struggling. It's strange that these men in black are all good at martial arts, but they seem to let them go. They have no killers, and they just kill themselves. The eyebrows on the street frowned slightly. Although he doubted and didn't like Ning, he didn't plan to ignore it. There were several silver needles in his fingers. Before there was time to help, the wrist between the shoe of a tight did not react, then was pulled into the account. What are you doing? Mo Shanghua raised her eyes and looked at Yan Beiqing, who suddenly appeared. Her eyebrows were tightened again, and she was about to go out again. Don't go. Yan Beiqing's eyebrows suddenly showed some displeasure, and seized her wrist to keep her from going out. Yan Beiqing, you. Mo Shanghua subconsciously thinks that he is making trouble out of no reason. He just wants to reprimand him, but he suddenly crosses something in his brain, and his eyes suddenly narrow. Yan Beiqing, are you the one who got all these people? Yan Beiqing released his hand and snorted, which was regarded as default. The flowers on the street were speechless. She really can't understand why Yan Beiqing, a good man, did it because of yesterday? No, he is not so reckless. What are you going to do? She couldn't figure it out, so she asked directly. First, you should have guessed. Yan Beiqing saw this, also deliberately clear throat, a serious face. The second point you will know. With that, he took Mo Shanghua's hand and went out from the other side of the tent. He changed the angle that he could not see them, and continued look on at SB's trouble with indifference. There are not many people in black, only a dozen of them. There are thousands of escorts in Yanbei City, but they all don't know where they are now. Only these 10 people said they were guarding, but they only resisted for a while and soon fell down. In fact, but hardly hurt. Those people in black are all good at martial arts. Without the guards to stop them, they are more and more powerful. However, the well-known Wuxian people under Ning's command were beaten at this time. They had no fighting power and were defeated repeatedly. Ning has been protected by them in the center. Seeing that the defeat has been decided, he does not close his eyes and sighs. That's all. His eyebrows seem to show some helplessness. Shue, do it. Shue, who had been protecting him all along, was relieved. She opened her vermilion lips and uttered a very clear voice, but it was very strange, like some ancient language. Mo Shanghua's casual eyes, after Shue's voice, seemed to be possessed. Her eyes were fixed on Shue, and she was more attentive than Pingsu Pharmaceutical. Yen North City, heart strange, can't help but also follow her eyes to see. When Shue's voice came down, the White Witch fairy people who had been beaten and retreated suddenly stepped back 2 steps, reducing the station circle. Then they took back the sword they had held tightly in their hands, and put out a kind of complicated formula with their free left hand. In their mouth they all opened and closed one by one, and they didn't know what to read. After a while the sword, which they put in the middle of their right hand, suddenly gave out a burst of white light. The body of the sword seemed to be attached with magic, buzzing and shaking. At this moment, the people of the Wuxian clan, who were originally disheartened, suddenly became stronger as if they were helped by God. Not to mention the man in black, even Yanbei City had never seen such a scene, and suddenly he was shocked. And the flower on the street is completely stunned. The sudden white light, like the aurora, suddenly hit her eyes. It was also like the spark produced by the explosion of some modern strong explosive, which shocked her severely. For some reason, it seemed that some pictures flashed through her mind. The people in the pictures could not see clearly the clothes on their faces, and the surrounding scenes. They only had a faint look of holding the formula, and a sharp white light at their fingertips. So they let Mo Shanghua have more points in her heart, and even she didn't know how to be familiar with it. She frowned and looked back. But as soon as she thought about it, her temples began to ache. What's the matter? But scared? Yan Beiqing see Mo Shanghua so reaction. Can't help but raise her hand to turn her body over, is very concerned about the inquiry. Mo Shanghua this just returned to God, gently shook his head, and then turned around again. Eyes firmly fell on Ning Huiji's body. He is still standing in the center of the position. His body is not stained with dust. His face is not happy or sad. He cannot see compassion. He cannot see anger. But he is a bit determined to get. Although the people in black were also silly, they came here with a mission. They didn't shrink back because of it. Instead, they braved it. Since the Wuxian people made that strange thing, the sword body has always been surrounded by a faint white light. With God's help, they soon defeated the man in black. Moreover, they have the intention of killing people. The man in black didn't want to take his life seriously when he saw the situation. He evacuated in a hurry, but there was no one left. Even if he was seriously injured, he took away all of them. If you walk slowly, I will kill them. A White Witch fairy clan looked at the direction of the black man's escape and spoke with disdain. Another agreed, the people outside are so weak. Now we only use a little basic mana in the clan, and they are vulnerable. As soon as the words fell, the rest of the Wuxian people also showed their disdain one after another. Rather familiar brows slightly twisted, Shui will immediately understand, but did not move, in front of the same light color. Son, what they say is not right. Ning's face sank slightly. Do you remember what I said to you before? Ning's face sank slightly. Do you remember what I said to you before? Shui turned her head and changed the topic. Holy Son, what we should care about now is what we are doing now. You see, why are there only these people left in this huge camp? Still so vulnerable? After a pause, she said with a sneer, there's no one here. Rather Noav didn't speak. Eyes from those lying on the ground wailing bodyguards who one by one swept. Eyes light microshen. But the flower just came back from her thoughts and said to herself, maybe it's a scene in a Xianxia TV play I saw in my previous life. Yan Beiqing didn't know what she was thinking in her heart, so he took her back to the camp. When it was almost time, she came out of the tent. When he came out, his face suddenly changed, as if he didn't know it. He was shocked. What's going on? Mo Shanghua sees this. Then also cooperative put out surprised appearance, call an accompanying bodyguard, order him to say clearly. The guard quickly got up and repeated the whole story. When Yan Beiqing heard the speech, he didn't feel too angry and ashamed. Instead, he felt a sense of schadenfreude. It's so. He looked at Ning Songji and said, yesterday someone under the Japanese king discovered that there was a team of men and horses following his team. I was worried that someone might be wrong, so I set up a plan to take most of the men and horses to go first at night, which caused me to find out their intention and try to escape, leaving behind the illusion that a small number of people came to hang the mat. But I don't think that their goal is not the king. Mo Shanghua's reaction is the most alert. Although Yan Beiqing didn't say anything to her in advance, She responded quickly and said, "The Lord's meaning is that we are not thoughtful and forget the safety of the sun." Ning knew that he didn't believe Yan Beiqing's words, but he looked very understanding. He said, "It's reasonable that the accident happened suddenly. Besides, I haven't been hurt. On the contrary, I'm tired. The Lord is an attendant. Not in the way." Yan Beiqing waved his hand and looked at the guards. "You all go down." Shui looked around the guards and saw that although they helped each other, they were injured, but there was no internal injury on them. On the contrary, several of the people on her side were slightly injured. She could not help but be angry. Thinking of this, she looked at Yan Beiqing and Mo Shanghua and said, "Isn't your Highness King Yu the one who loves her most? Why is it that I don't see the side concubine today, instead of the princess here to avoid disaster?" Ning knew what he said, but he didn't mean to stop him. On the contrary, he connived. "Yes, isn't the Lord always the most spoiled? Does the princess know where the southern princess is going again?" Although he was clear in the flower heart on the street, he did not see the figure of Nan He all the time. His heart suddenly became stuffy again. He could not help pinching his palm, but his face was still not exposed. The Son of God must have been out of the world for a long time, and he didn't understand the rules and ethics of the outside world. "The concubine on the south side is my family member in the house of King Yu. After all, you are a man outside. How can you be so concerned?" "I was rude." Ning Tongji immediately apologized and raised his hand to make amends. Before the flowers on the street could speak, Yan Beiqing raised her hand and held it in his hand. He looked at Ning Tongji in his eyes, but his words were to her, "I just sent her first. I will meet her before I go to Beijing." The implication is that the South Crane will not appear in the near future? The flowers on the street come to me, and the hand they just tried to pull out stops, and their full lips are slightly pursed. Ning Huiji's eyes swept over their hands and said with a smile, "The target of those people in black just now is obviously me, and I have brought trouble to the prince and princess. I think I'd better separate from the prince, and I'll take a detour to avoid implicating the prince and princess in the future." Shui's face behind him was just a little happy. Then he seemed to think of something. He frowned again and called softly, "Holy Son." Ning, however, turned a deaf ear and bowed again. "Thank you for your care these days. Goodbye." Yen North City I tale slightly stir up. The mood is instantaneous joyful. Since so then not far send. In the past he had to be polite in any case, but now he didn't even want to be polite. It can be seen that he was dissatisfied with Ning. Mo Shanghua was surprised. Seeing Yan Beiqing like this, he had no choice but to go with him. She knows that as long as he has a towel gourd with her, Yan Beiqing doesn't like it very much, and often looks like a child. "Sun Yu." Shui saw that the matter was settled so quickly, and her heart became anxious. However, just spit out a few words, rather familiar with it has turned around. With a tone cannot refuse to say, "Let's take another detour." Shui's eyes are not reconciled, but it's hard to say anything when he sees Ning's determination. He can only leave with Ning. Seeing several people's back gradually far away, Yenbei City ordered them to set out. "Did you really send the rest of them first?" Mo Shanghua was in the same carriage with him, and his former anger had gone down a lot. Now when he talked to him, his chill was gone. Yan Beiqing was in a good mood at the moment, and he saw that Mo Shanghua took care of himself again. His lips could not help but gently tilted up. "Just let them go 3 miles ahead. They should still be waiting for us at the moment." "What about the South Crane?" Mo Shanghua is not a person who dawdles, but he hesitates when it comes to Nanhe. Yen North City sees her this appearance. The radiant of the lip cape is bigger. Nature is sent to the imperial city. The top of the eyebrows on the street was slightly raised, and the eyes were puzzled. "In this way, your play, what else can we do?" When it comes to acting, she can't help but pause, still very mind in her heart. Yan Beiqing gathered around her and said with a smile, "If this play continues, my concubines will die of jealousy." The white cheeks of the flowers on the street suddenly turned red, and the heart turned clear because of such a simple sentence. No, she can't be like a tricky little girl. A few days ago, is it so easy to erase it? Thinking about it, she put on a straight face again and said, "Who is jealous with you? You still care about the important things. It doesn't matter how I am here." Yan Beiqing saw this. Simply don't be cheeky, Baba's face close to the past. "A few days ago, I was not thoughtful, just thinking about big things, but forget your feelings, you can rest assured. I will certainly make up for you in the future." Then he stretched out his long white hand and wanted to take the slender waist of the flower. God knows how hard he has been living these days, how many times he wants to hold her in his arms, but because of the important things ahead, no matter how much he cares, he can't show any. Mo Shanghua directly dodged in the past. "Don't use your hands and feet. If you are seen, everything before will be in vain." After a pause, she pursed her lips slightly, and her voice dropped a few degrees. "I can't eat vinegar for nothing for such a long time." Yan Beiqing was not happy because of the previous sentence. Now he heard her words clearly, and his mouth suddenly came to his ears. "I knew that my princess really cared about me," one side said. One side obediently took back the hand. The flower on the street saw this, and the corners of her lips were tight all the time. Then she could not help but gently tick a few points. "Then tell me, why do you intend to send the South Crane back?" Yan Beiqing retreated deliberately and said with a smile, "Guess the princess." Mo Shanghua's eyes suddenly narrowed up and looked at him. Liang spat out 2 words. "Don't guess." Yan Beiqing, a spirited man, said quickly, "It was just for you. Now, I can see assassins on the way. For the reason that it's too dangerous, I will send her to the imperial city first." Mo Shanghua silently looked at him. The corners of his lips could not help but turn up a little, and the ice between his eyebrows and eyes completely melted. Yan Beiqing raised his hand and gently stroked her slightly upturned lips. He looked at her with a smile on his face. "Good looking," he praised with a smile. "Slender fingers are not honest, can't help caressing the lips of flowers, eyes full of love. The flowers on the street do not dodge, and the calm eyes are gradually infected with a smile. The rest of the schedule is not far away, but half a month later, in addition, without Nanha and Ningtangzi, their days are more peaceful and comfortable, all the way peaceful." Yenbei City left the imperial city for a long time, and was detested by the emperor. There was not even a palace in the imperial city. Now that they have returned, the place where they have settled down is nothing more than the marquis's house of the former rebellious marquis, which has changed its brand. Even the servant girls and boys in the house were all made up by the queen. When they arrived at the imperial city, none of the princesses and princesses in the palace, who were usually called brothers, came out to meet them. The flower on the street looked at the depressed mansion in front of her. Her eyebrows could not help frowning slightly. "Isn't it true that the queen has bought a servant? How come now that we've arrived at the palace, we don't even have a person to greet us?" But there was no waves on the surface of Yenbei City, as if he had been used to such a cold reception. "These are the affairs of the back house. The princess sent someone to deal with them." After a pause, Yu Guang glanced at the crack of the gate and said, "Crane is still in the post station now. I'm going to pick her up." With that, he really took 2 guards and turned away. The flowers on the street have been aware of it for a long time, so they are cooperating with it without any obstruction. At that time, a maid who was hiding behind the door and peeping along the crack of the door couldn't help wondering. It's said that Princess Yu's temperament has changed greatly since she arrived in Yuzhou. She is very fierce and cruel. How can she look cowardly now? Just then, the flower on the street suddenly raised her head, and the cold and absolute eyes swept towards the closed door. The maid in the door only felt a sudden cold on her body, and the eyes of the flowers on the street seemed to penetrate the heavy gate, and directly penetrated her body. "Open the door." Mo Shanghua voice light mouth. "The mouth cannot hear anger." "Yes." Qin Yafu blessed himself, and then ordered 2 strong servants to come forward. "Knock on the door first. If there is no answer, knock it open." Qin took a look at the faint figure between the cracks of the door and ordered. The 2 servants answered and came forward. Seeing this, the servant girl in the door was startled and winked at a young servant girl behind. The little servant girl is very happy and busy. Seeing that the little servant girl had gone, the servant girl came forward, and without waiting for the servants outside to knock, she opened the front door and went out to meet each other. I think this is Princess Yu. I've met Princess Yu. I'm Zheng's maid. She's the aunt in charge of the garden. She was blessed, but her manners were considerate. Mo Shanghua glanced at Aunt Zhang, gently pulled the corner of her lip, and said, "Look at the girl's posture, it's probably from the palace." Not to ask, but to be sure. The servant girl is well dressed and polite. She is only 27 or 8 years old. I think she must be old people in some places in the palace. I thought Aunt Zhang would admit it directly, but I didn't think about it. Instead, she showed some sadness and said, "It's all something from the past." Qinya looked around. She felt that the old maid was so smart that she didn't have the truth in her mouth, so she wanted to try to say, "How can Aunt say that? What happened in the palace?" Aunt Zhang seemed to be waiting for this question. She lowered her eyebrows and sighed. But before she had time to speak, the flower on the street directly opened her mouth and broke away from the topic. "Isn't it that the Empress has already sent many people to wait in the garden?" The woman deliberately left her words behind, just to talk about how she was abandoned by the previous lord. In this way, one can gain her trust, and the other can make her feel pity, regardless of the neglect. Who is the flower on the street? Naturally, I don't want to be influenced by her, just like her. She turned her head and took a look at Qinya. Qin Yajing and her eyes on, but also followed her for a long time, immediately understood, a little cold face. The princess has been waiting at the door for so long. They did not come out to meet. After a pause, she turned her eyes slightly and said, "But I'm angry with you." Aunt Zhang's face suddenly changed when she heard the speech. She said with a smile, "Girl, where is this? The princess didn't knock at the door when she came here. We don't know. How can we meet her? What's more, if you let the lord go, then what's that never knock?" His eyes turned slightly, and there seemed to be a sharp light in his eyes. "The news that I went to Beijing with the lord has already been sent to Beijing in advance. You don't know if you don't knock." Seeing this, Qinya's voice cools a little. "Not to mention that you didn't send someone to watch in advance. If you are not deaf and blind, you should know about such a big battle when the lord came to Beijing." Aunt Zhang's face suddenly turned white. I didn't expect that the princess was also a powerful master. She was sweating. When she didn't know how to answer, the little servant girl she had just sent to call came out of the door. Behind her, more than a dozen servant girls came to see the flowers. Maidservant, see the princess. Aunt Zhang raised her hand and wiped the cold sweat on her forehead. The princes and concubines are in a hurry to come back, and the maidservants have just been called in recently. This garden is in disrepair for a long time. We have to take a good rest. The big guys are usually busy taking a rest, and they don't notice it for a moment. I thought that Mo Shanghua would take advantage of the problem and not give her steps. But unexpectedly, she just nodded her head and said in a soft voice, "It's hard for you. No hard work, no hard work." In addition to the accident, Aunt Zhang grabbed the steps and said, "The princess has been working hard all the way. Let's go in quickly." Say then let open way come. Those servant girls and servants also all follow her together. Let open way come. Qinya is well aware of the temperament of Mo Shanghua. Seeing that she has changed her mouth, she doesn't ask much. She just asks someone to move good things and goes in with Mo Shanghua first. A group of people in the garden through. The flower seems to be stable, but also from time to time in the garden sweeping eyes. Aunt Zhang didn't dare to lie. The garden was clean and elegant. She saw that it had been cleaned and repaired. Qinya followed Mo Shanghua and said in a low voice, "Princess, it seems that it's not the same as what I think." Mo Shanghua smiles a little, and the corner of his lips is slightly ironic. Face kung fu should be done enough in the end. Qinya nodded and glanced at Aunt Zhang, who was leading the way. Mo Shanghua just said that she didn't deliberately lower her voice. She should be able to hear it, but she didn't respond. "Aunt Zhang, where are we going?" She didn't make a sound. Qinya simply asked directly. Aunt Zhang looked back and kept on walking. The princess has been working hard all the way. At this moment, she should go to the bedroom and have a good rest. This arrangement is no problem, which think spend a step on the street standing in the same place. The servant girls and servants who followed her also stopped. The Lord has not come in yet. How can I arrange for him? Chinya, take someone to the bedroom to clean up. I'll go to the main hall and wait for him. Chinya has not yet answered. Aunt Zhang seems to have been caught in the key. She comes forward in a hurry. Princess, you are tired all the way. You'd better have a rest first. The maid is waiting in the house. With a smile on her face, she said. If not, you'd better take a nap. When you wake up, you'll get some food. It's not too late to wait for the Lord. Don't bother. I'll just wait in the main hall. Mo Shanghua was not moved. If you are upset, you will send someone to ask the Lord to come back. Aunt Zhang lead the way. Seeing this, Chinya didn't wait for Aunt Zhang to open her mouth, so she took over the conversation and said, Princess, don't worry. I will clean up the room inside and outside. Aunt Zhang immediately had no room to refute, so she had to answer nervously. That slave girl will take the princess first. This small base embryo is so stubborn, she must quickly let people quietly clean up. Chinya beside sweet smile. Then please take care of my Aunt Zhang princess. With that, she wanted to take people down first. After 2 steps, she came back again. By the way, I almost forgot that this is not Yuzhou, and I don't know the way. I asked Aunt Zhang to send some people here. Mo Shanghua also nodded gently. Chinya and others are all from Yuzhou. They are not familiar with this place. They need to send more old people to help clean it up to take care of it. Said her eyes fell on Aunt Zhang. I only need 2 or 3 people to lead the way here. The rest will be sent to clean up. Yes, princess. Aunt Zhang couldn't find out what was wrong with her words, so she had to deal with it. After a short time, she led Mo Shanghua to the main hall and brought tea and water in person. Not only that, she wiped a table with her sleeve before she sat down on the floor. She was very careful. Mo Shanghua glanced at the table and said, I just ate too much outside in the cold wind, but I'm not used to it. Aunt Zhang laughed and said, It's right to serve the princess. Why don't you try this tea first? It's Zuetingqi, which is specially appreciated by the queen. I'm not thirsty. The flowers on the street began to walk slowly in the hall, and their eyes looked around like nothing. Aunt Zhang's heart also went up to her throat, and she scolded in her heart. I should have known that the new official took office 3 times before. It was the mother in the backyard who was not serious. She had to tell her all the time that the princess was a soft persimmon when she was in the prime minister's residence. Now I'm afraid it's going to be bad luck. Sure enough, before she had a turn in her mind, she began to listen to the cold voice of the stranger. Aunt Zhang, this is what you cleaned in advance. I saw her stop in front of a small few, raised her hand in the corner of the table, gently wipe that ing by slender fingers suddenly stained with dust. Aunt Zhang knelt down quickly and did not explain. She bit her teeth and said, Please punish the princess. My aunt really came out of the palace. She is really different from other people. Did not want to. Mo Shanghua did not immediately blame Pale. Aunt Zhang lowered her head and didn't speak. She was not sure. Mo Shanghua looked down at Aunt Zhang kneeling on the ground and said calmly, I'm not trying to punish you. Aunt Zhang couldn't help thinking differently. What does the princess want? I just want you to know. The flower on the street dropped her eyes and picked up the teacup on the table. No matter where it was sent, if you enter my palace, you can only be loyal to the palace. If you dare to have a different heart. Later she did not go on, but the teacup in her hand suddenly loosened, and the teacup fell to the ground, falling apart, and the broken porcelain tea splashed everywhere. A few drops of tea splashed onto the back of Aunt Zhang's hand. Although the tea had been softened, it was as hot as it had just been made. I dare not. Aunt Zhang couldn't care about the broken porcelain on the ground, so she pressed her head tightly on the ground, and her palms were already sweating. Mo Shanghua didn't speak. She put the tea cover on the table and stepped out. Chinya ordered her to come over to the bedroom, and then called someone to lead her. At this time, she was guarding outside the door. As soon as she saw the flowers coming out, she hurried forward to help her put on her cloak. Princess, it's going to take some time to clean up here. Before I entered the mansion just now, I already had a good look. There's a restaurant on the West Street. Let's go there first and use it. We'll clean it up when we come back. Mo Shanghua lowered his head and tied a tie, but he didn't lift his head. Well, give them time to think about it. At this time, Aunt Zhang in the house still kept the same appearance as when she went out. She didn't change a bit until a servant girl came in and called her in surprise. Aunt Zhang, what's going on? It's just a broken cup. How can you look at it? That small servant girl sees her to return to mind. Can't help good strange way. My aunt's face was dark and she didn't have a good way of saying, "What can I do? It's just that the new official takes office with 3 fires. Look at her look is not right." The small servant girl immediately dare not speak. Help her to get up first. You're not easy to handle, little bitch, but I'm not a vegetarian either. Thinking of what happened just now, Aunt Zhang could not help squeezing the little girl's hand and resenting her face. However, a poor princess who wanted to embarrass her in the imperial city didn't believe that this little bitch could be arrogant all the time. Mo Shanghua chose a window seat and sat down. He drank the soup slowly. He saw that it was getting late, and he didn't plan to go back home. The restaurant they are doing now is not near the palace, but a luxurious place only for officials and nobles. What's more, it's only 1 street away from the places where the nobles live. At present, she is sitting in the right Prime Minister Liu Bohan's residence just through the alley in front of her. Looking down the alley, there was a dazzling light at the end, which was brighter and more noble than the street where she was now. Qinya looked out of the window and saw that the lanterns were on. Then she said, "Princess, when are we going back?" The flower head on the road also did not lift. Light way. Withdraw. Qinya glanced at the leftover soup on the table and was about to stand up to greet Xiao. Then she listened to Huayu on the street and said, "Let Xiao change tea and snacks." Qinya eyebrow when the head done tangled bewilderment of wrinkling together. "You still don't plan to go?" "Of course not." Mo Shanghua nodded, pinched the teacup in front of him, and urged, "Hurry up, the tea is cold." It seems that he really has full elegance. Qinya had no choice but to call Xiao. When the tea and snacks are all ready, the flowers on the street will enjoy the tea and snacks leisurely. They look very comfortable. Qinya couldn't help but wonder. She came up to her and asked in a low voice, "Princess, what kind of medicine do you sell in this gourd?" Mo Shanghua looks up, and his lips are slightly pulled up. "I can't talk about selling medicine, but I'm just waiting for someone." After a pause, she glanced at the alley outside the window and said to Qinya, "Go to the door and stare at the little two here to see if you want to ask him anything." Qinya didn't know why, so she nodded and went out. In a moment, Qinya quickly came in, squatted in front of the flower on the street, and said in a smaller voice, "Princess, someone really inquired about you with the shop boy." "What did the man say?" The flowers on the street seemed to have been expected for a long time, and there was no surprise on the face. Without saying anything, I asked if Princess Yu was here. Qinya thought about it carefully, and then said, "Look at the clothes. It seems that they're from some family." Mo Flower gently nodded, as if all this is known. Qinya is ready to say something, but Mo Shanghua suddenly originally indifferent I light shu of a li loa wei. Who is outside? At the same time, she quickly drew a silver needle between her fingers and shot at the door. The door of the box was originally replaced by a curtain. Before moving, people outside felt a numbness on their legs and fell to the ground. Qinya rushed to the door, called 2 accompanying guards, pressed the man in front of the flower. "Princess, I know him. It's just that he's been asking the waiter." Qinya glanced at the man kneeling on the ground, and immediately recognized him. Mo Shanghua nodded slightly, indicating that he knew, and then moved his eyes to the kneeling man. "It's no doubt that you are the young man in the right Prime Minister's mansion." Although she was clear in her heart, she didn't know what to do on the surface. Knowing the reason, she asked, "Who are you from? What do you do when you spy on me?" "It's something you can send to an official. You can think about it clearly." Qinya sees this, then cooperates in the side threat. The little guy shrunk his neck and stammered, I. He is just a newcomer from the government. He has always been doing things according to the rules. Now when he encounters such a posture, he is very scared. Mo Shanghua saw that he didn't say anything, so she raised her head and motioned for Qinya with her eyes. The servants of a respectable family usually have wooden cards of symbolic identity on their bodies. Therefore, Qinya went forward to search the man and found a sign. Mo Shanghua pinched the brand in his hand and said, "It's the people in Lu Xiangfu." The boy could not help but shrunk again and said, Yes, princess. No, young lady. In fact, I came to visit you at your master's command." "Is it?" The flower on the street didn't open, but slowly spit out 2 words in the mouth, and the dark color is shining in the eyes. Yes. I'm sweating a lot. Mo Shanghua's reputation is well known. Because she returned to the city also spread a few days of gossip. What's more, it exaggerates to the point that every move she makes after she enters the city is watched by others. Now this movement has attracted some young people outside, and the servant girls and servants who come out with their own noble people, and they are all hiding outside eavesdropping. Mo Shanghua had already noticed that her eyes turned slightly, and her voice improved a little. "I have never seen such a visit before. I'm afraid of eavesdropping, and I haven't carried anything. How can I have the appearance of visiting?" Speaking of the back, her voice sank a little bit. "But you're not fake either." Qinya just guessed the intention of Mo Shanghua, so she raised her voice and said, "Princess, although she doesn't know what the purpose of this person is, she is from the right Prime Minister's mansion. There are only 2 masters in the right Prime Minister's mansion, Yu Xiang and his daughter. They are not bound for a while." The flower on the street heard the words and nodded gently. Her voice was a little sad and said, "He hates me, but it's not like this. Well, in the face of the right Prime Minister, let you go for the time being. Let him go." Qinya opens his mouth at the right time, and the boy is released immediately. The boy didn't dare to say anything. He kowtowed and got up to leave. Have not stepped out of the door, but suddenly Flower's open mouth, voice cold a lot. "Remember, I am not you, the lady of Prime Minister Yufu." Although it was only the boy's flattering eyes, she felt sick after hearing it. The boy nodded his head and left the curtain. As soon as he went out, he found out that the door was not the one who had been curious at first. Many of them were sent by their own masters to inquire about the news. The sound insulation of this box is not very good. In addition, the voice of Mo Shanghua is a little louder. At present, I'm afraid it will spread all over the capital in half a day. In this way, the young lady had to kill her. Thinking of this, the boy's face turned white for a moment, faltered under his feet, and then rushed back in a hurry. Many servant girls outside the door saw that he was leaving in a mess, and listened to the voice of the people in the curtain just now. They couldn't help looking at the thin curtain in front of them with curiosity and gossip. They wanted to open it immediately. This Princess Yu is very famous. When she left the imperial city at the beginning, she was magnificent, and when she was in Yuzhou, she never stopped right and wrong. It is said that after he went to Yuzhou, his temperament changed greatly. He was vicious, jealous, arrogant and domineering. It is said that this dandy, relying on the waste firewood of King Yu, almost controlled the whole Yuzhou. It said that this one had a beautiful face. Later he was destroyed. His face was ugly and terrible. He was not favored by King Yu. So many gossips make people curious. What are you looking at? Qinya suddenly lifted the curtain and came out, sweeping the people at the door. I didn't expect that these people were also shameless. The first reaction was not shame. Instead, Qinya opened the curtain and looked inside. Unfortunately, they only caught a glimpse of the corner of their clothes. In addition to Qinya's poor appearance at the door, they naturally did not dare to stay for a long time, and scattered one after another. "Princess, should we go back?" After dispersing the people at the door, Qinya comes in again. The flower on the street put down the teacup in her hand, and took a meaningful look at the deep lane. She got up and said, "Let's go." They just got on the carriage, then heard a soft and anxious female voice behind them. "Sister, walk slowly." Although the voice was soft and sweet, it was not hard to hear. It was just as if I had never heard it before. I went straight to the carriage and didn't even look back. Qinya just want to turn back. Also by Emo Shanghua quietly pulled a want to follow her together on the carriage. Let's go. He took a good seat in the carriage and ignored the people outside. Sister, walk slowly. But unexpectedly, the owner of the voice, that is Lu Qianqian, did not even care about her image. She caught up with her skirt and waited outside the carriage. Sister has something to say to you. Please spare me some time. After a short trot, Lu Qian's breath is not very smooth now. Her beautiful white cheeks add a bit of blush. In addition, Lu's eyebrows frown slightly. She looks more and more weak and thin. It's still like this. I don't want to see her, Qinya, you tell her, she said. Qinya nodded, lifted the curtain on the carriage window and said, Miss Lu, it's getting late now. Our princess has just arrived in the imperial city. There are still many things to deal with in the palace. You can't afford to delay. Please go back. But I do have something to tell my sister. If I can't explain it clearly, I'm afraid my conscience will be in trouble. Lu Qianqian does not want to leave. The handkerchief in the hand agitates uneasily. You are the Prime Minister's daughter, and I am Princess Yu. It's neither proper nor reasonable for you to call my sister. Emo Shanghua's indifferent voice suddenly came out of the car. Can't hear a ripple. After a pause she added, It's said that Miss Lu knows the rules best. Only this sentence let Lu Qian's soft one clear beautiful cheek ruthlessly stiff. Since she thought that Lu Xiang was a real daughter, she was despised by many aristocratic families. Later, she worked hard step by step to gain the reputation of being knowledgeable and talented. Now the words of flowers on the street are just like the words of killing the heart. She squeezed the handkerchief in her hand and was about to say something. Unexpectedly, Emo Shanghua ordered someone to drive away, regardless of her face. In this way, Lu Qianqian's face was completely lost. I'm just a commoner girl with no name and no division. Now I'm putting on the airs of a princess. It's really hateful. Seeing this, her maidservant could not help feeling aggrieved for her master. Shut up, it's my fault. Lu Qianqian immediately turned his head and yelled in a low voice. His eyes were full of tears and remorse. It was I who robbed my sister's identity. Miss, the servant girl suddenly became more and more unfair. That's your identity. She has occupied the nest for so long. You. Don't say it. It's all my fault. It's my thoughtlessness. I didn't let the boy make it clear. Lu Qianqian's eyes turned around intentionally or unintentionally, and continued to cry. I just heard that my elder sister has come back, and I want to let the young man take a look at his elder sister's present situation, and see if he's doing well. Then, as if helpless, he raised his hand and gently wiped the thin tears from the corners of his eyes. It's all right. I'll make amends to my sister another day. Miss, you are just too kind. Servant girl of face is also a face helplessly helped Lu Qianqian to get on carriage. As she stepped into the carriage, Lu Qianqian listened to the voices of the passers by talking about it. She pinched the handkerchief in her palm, which eased down, and the corner of her lip gently raised. Bitch, it's ridiculous that she wants to ruin her reputation with such a move. Today's boy, I don't need him to do business here in the future. Find a chance to send him out. As soon as he got on the carriage, Lu Qianqian immediately changed his face and opened his mouth slightly annoyed. The servant girl is also not in, seemed to be outside of time. Tooth sharp, mouth sharp, very obedient should descend. Dare not say more half sentence. When Emo Shanghua returned to the house, the bedroom and other places had been properly cleaned up, and there was no mistake. Aunt Zhang was also very obedient and prepared everything early. When she saw that Emo Shanghua had eaten, she immediately asked someone to get a bath water to serve Emo Shanghua. It's just that the flowers on the street don't let other people get close, just let Qinya be there. As for whether Yan Beiqing was going back to the mansion, she simply stopped asking, pretending that she didn't care much about it, just to make Aunt Zhang think that they were not in the same boat. Qinya poured petals into the barrel and asked curiously, Princess, what did you say to Aunt Zhang? How could she be so obedient? Emo Shanghua pinched a petal in her hand and gave a smile. It's like her petal, no matter what identity she is always pinched by me. If I want her to die, she naturally finds a million reasons and can't escape. Said. She gently threw out the petals. I just let her know I want her life, then she outside the master to be easy 100 times. Chinya swallowed her saliva in silence, with a frightened look on her face. It's no wonder that Aunt Zhang took up her tale to be a man. However, I admire the princess in my heart, Chinya said with another look of admiration. It's not just Aunt Zhang. I'm afraid that hypocritical Miss Lu is going to be disgraced. See how she can smile. At first, she didn't know the purpose of the flower. Later, she realized that the flower had made such a big circle. She was really relieved. Mo Shanghua raised her hand to point Chinya's eyebrows, and said with a smile, so soon I'll get carried away. Chinya blinked and wiped the water stains on her eyebrows. When I know what you've done with her, I don't like her very much. If you frustrate her, I'll be happy. Mo Shanghua shook her head and said faintly, originally she was safe but she came too fast. If we left early in the morning, she is really irrefutable. It's a pity that she came too fast and entangled with us for a while. In fact, her original purpose is not to destroy Lu Qianqian's reputation. Such a painless thing, she only feel boring. Originally, she just wanted to see her cheap dad and know how she would react here. Dealing with Lu Qian is just a temporary intention. She has no plans to talk to Chinya about these. Chinya is full of love for her. If she knows that she will only be unfair to her, maybe she will not understand why she did it. Only she can understand it herself. Sure enough, her thoughts just turned around. Chinya hit the water angrily and said angrily, I knew I would ignore her at the beginning and drive away directly. After saying that, she realized what she had done and came over with a handkerchief. Princess, I didn't mean to. Are your eyes okay? Wipe it up. Mo Shanghua took the handkerchief and wiped the water stains splashed on his eyes. He was angry and funny. I'm okay. It's just that when you are so grumpy. Chinya stood up at a loss, her face full of shame, and she stammered. I don't know well, I don't blame you, but you must change it in the future. The flower on the street is smiling, pretending to be serious. Chinya just stares at her eyes. Seeing that it doesn't matter, she is relieved. She immediately guarantees, I will change it. I swear. You look lovely too. Mo Shanghua couldn't help laughing and raised her hand to pinch Chinya's neat bun. Chinya puffed her mouth and said, Don't laugh, princess. The Lord hasn't come back yet. The maid has just seen it. She's not here. Oh. Mo Shanghua just slightly raised her eyes, then lowered her head to wipe her body. He is not like this once or twice. As long as he doesn't delay to go to the palace tomorrow, he will follow him. Seeing this, Chinya sighed and stopped talking. How could such a good woman as their princess be born to such a dandy? As everyone knows, all this is under the control of Mo Shanghua and Yan Beicheng. Yanbei City came back to the mansion early the next morning with Nanha. Because I want to enter the palace, I have to prepare for it. The servant girl just went in, and was sent out by Nan He. However, the servant girl who was sent out was relieved. What's the matter? What's the matter inside? How did you come out like this? A servant girl, seeing her like this, couldn't help asking. The little servant girl hesitated for a while, pulled the servant girl aside, and then whispered. Just now when I helped to clean up, I quietly looked up. Our Lord, there is such a big birthmark on his face. It's scarlet and scarlet. I almost lost my temper. Can there be false rumors? It's true that it's possible to be a fake. I heard that our princess was ruined and looked terrible, but I didn't expect that it was a fake news. No, I had a look at it yesterday. The skin was smooth and white, better than a shelled egg. The rumor was not believable to her. What are you talking about? They were talking, but Aunt Zhang didn't know when she was behind them. Two people were startled, busy lowbrow astringent purpose station good, mutter way. No. Aunt Zhang with a smile on her face said, What are you so afraid of me doing? We're all in one mind. I'm also a woman. Naturally, I'm just curious. They were relieved. One of the women came to Aunt Zhang's ear and whispered what she had just said. Then she said, "Isn't Aunt Zhang an old man in the palace? This matter should be clearer than us." Aunt Zhang flashed a little unnatural on her face and said, "I used to serve Lady Shufei. At that time, Lady Shufei's mother was not very good. She sent me to serve her. Naturally, she didn't know." The two servant girls didn't doubt it. They nodded and went down to do their own business. It was Aunt Zhang, and her eyes were gradually tinged with something thoughtful. "Princess, the prince's side has been cleaned up." Aunt Zhang respectfully made a salute to the flowers on the street. "I see." Mo Shanghua is still sitting in front of the dresser, never got up, let a little older aunt for her bun. Qinya comes from the countryside, so she is not as good as her aunt at the moment. Aunt Zhang bowed her head to answer the question, but before she stepped down, she stood waiting. Just the light of the eyes, but without trace, swept away on the side face of the flower on the street. Before looking at her, the aunt who helped her to dress up had already put the last hairpin on her, and said with a smile, "Okay." Mo Shanghua didn't care much. She glanced at herself in the bronze mirror and stood up. "Let's go." I don't know what she looks like now. All the women in the room are ashamed of her. Today's Moshang flower is dressed in a luxurious Tibetan blue palace dress. Like good silk, its long black and soft hair is tied up into a bun, and all of them are coiled on the top of the head, revealing a long white goose neck. She wears a green hair crown, and even the lipstick is red, which makes her skin more beautiful. In addition, a pair of indifferent eyebrows and eyes add a lot of color to the whole person. It is beautiful and beautiful. Where does this have the appearance which once destroyed the appearance? Aunt Zhang was stunned and couldn't help but widen her eyes. She carefully swept the flower's cheek inch by inch. However, Mo Shanghua's skin was delicate, white and tender, and there was no flaw, which surprised Aunt Zhang. "What are you looking at, Aunt Zhang?" Seeing that Aunt Zhang's face was a little strange, Qinya couldn't help asking. Aunt Zhang quickly lowered her head and said with a smile, "I was a slave. I've been working in the palace for more than 10 years, and I've never seen such a beauty as the princess." Qinya didn't realize that he was there. She also laughed. That's nature. Mo Shanghua has long been used to other people's eyes, but doesn't care. She looks down and straightens the wrinkles on her clothes, then moves forward. Yenbei City had been waiting on the carriage for a long time. When the flowers came out of the house, he got on the carriage directly. The carriage started slowly and rushed to the palace. Qinya followed Aunt Zhang outside the carriage. The more Aunt Zhang thought about it, the more she realized that it was impossible for her to come from an empty hole. She could not help but pull La Qinya's sleeve and pretended to be curious. "I heard that our princess didn't look like this." Qinya Mei twisted her head and said, "What do you mean? Is it possible that the one sitting here is a fake princess?" "Don't worry, girl. I didn't say that." Aunt Zhang quickly lost her smile. "I just heard the girls at the bottom chew their tongue and say that the princess had ruined her face. Today, I saw that there was no scar at all. It's not like that at all." Qinya's eyes were a little suspicious. After a little thought, she said calmly, "If you chew your tongue like this, I'll tell the princess that I'll punish you for disrespect." Aunt Zhang didn't expect that Qinya, a young girl with a tender face, was so hard to deal with. Her face broke down and she was calm and silent. But the stranger in the carriage didn't know anything about the outside. Mo Shanghua looks at Yan Beicheng, who is well dressed and ruddy. He can't help but hook up his lips. In his words he insinuates, "The Lord looks good." Yan Beicheng is not angry, grinning. With the princess, it is no good look will follow the light to become better. Mo Shanghua's eyes stare at him coolly, and her ruddy and full lips are gently pursed without words. What did Yan Beicheng do last night? She really didn't know, but she also understood that it was not with Nanhe. It's one thing to know, but it's another to Yan Beicheng not to mention it. Yan Beicheng didn't understand what Mo Shanghua thought. Seeing that she didn't speak, he thought she was nervous and said, "But they are all paper tigers. What can I fear?" The frown on the street is slightly frowning. One face is puzzled. "Is the word fear written on my face?" Yan Beicheng suddenly laughed. "I forgot. How could you be afraid? You haven't been back to the palace for decades. Don't be so scared that your legs are weak. Emo Shanghua has a little resentment against Yan Beiqing in her heart. She can't help but excite him. Yan Beiqing's black and white eyes sank a little, and the corners of his lips sneered. I've never been afraid. Speaking, he can't help holding the soft hand of Emo Shanghua in the palm of his hand. The palm of his hand slowly closed and his eyes fixed on her. No matter what happens, I will protect you. There are those who have added to his and his mother's pain. He must be 100 times 1,000 times. Emo Shanghua didn't expect that her careless words touched the most important part of Yan Beiqing's heart. She could not help holding his hand and pursing her red lips. For a long time, she just gently mm. She has never entrusted her heart to a man like this, and she is still not confident. Yan North City heart is more clear, also just clenched her hand, didn't say anything. Sooner or later, he will tell her that he is worthy of her wholehearted trust. This return to the palace is not only Yan Beiqing's first return in his own capacity since he left the imperial city more than 10 years ago, but also his first meeting with Emo Shanghua after his big wedding, so it's more ceremonious. When they met the emperor, they were obedient and didn't even raise their heads. And Baorong Emperor seems to have long forgotten the earth-shaking things that Emo Shanghua had done in the imperial city, and didn't care about him, as if she was just a tiny piece of sand. Instead, Yanbei City was left alone by Emperor Baorong, and Emo Shanghua went to the queen's residence. Lu Qianqian guessed that the flower party in the street would come to the queen to say hello. So he went out of his way and came here early. It's meaningless. I just want to verify some words. When she left Yuzhou that year, she heard that the face of Emo Shanghua was better. She said that she was not ill that day. She could not see each other with her own eyes, and she could not see each other yesterday. She sent the boy who saw him away again, naturally curious. After waiting for a long time, it was not easy to see Emo Shanghua enter the palace slowly after the palace people's report. Even if she hung her head, she still showed half of her beautiful face and her white and smooth skin. Then she was shocked and her fingers immediately clenched. To the queen-line salute, after being given a seat, Emo Shanghua just slightly looked up. This just caught a glimpse of sitting in the opposite Lu Qianqian. Their eyes met in an instant. The flowers on the street are quite the same, and their faces are normal. Although a little surprised, but also not unexpected. And Lu Qianqian's appearance is no different from the one she remembers. And Lu Qianqian's face changed in an instant, full of shock and consternation, which could not be covered up at all. How is it possible? How is it possible? How is it possible to recover without a trace? Moreover, today's flowers on the street seem to be more beautiful than before. In the past, her skin was never as delicate as it is now, and even less so now. At that time, Emo Shanghua was just an ordinary girl, most of whom were more beautiful than others, but now she seems to be a different person. The gorgeous and bright pearl green, the cool and indifferent eyebrows and eyes, let her original appearance also mention 10. It is dignified and elegant, strangers do not close. Miss Lu is here too. Emo Shanghua didn't miss Lu Qianqian's wonderful expression, but her heart suddenly became excited and said, Miss Lu, but what's on my face? Scar or something? Lu Qianqian, this just reaction come over, slender fingernail deeply pierced into palm. Forced to endure in the heart of the mountains and rivers of jealousy, stand up. She maintained the bearing of her daughter, with a dignified posture, and went up to Huafu. But I didn't expect my sister to come today, and I haven't seen her for a long time. I'm a little excited. The stranger glanced coldly and said in a cool voice, Miss Lu, how can you call your sister in front of the Empress? In this way, don't you regard the palace rules as nothing? Lu Qianqian's face suddenly turned white. She knelt down in a hurry and looked at the queen with tears in her eyes. Empress, my courtesan have no such intention. My courtesan just haven't seen my sister for a long time. I miss her in my heart. Miss you? A person who once occupied his own identity for more than 10 years, who can really have some kind of family affection. The Empress has been in the palace for so many years. She has a clear idea of Lu Qianqian's means, but she just doesn't know what to do. However, the oral things, as long as you really respect them in your heart, and you are all younger generation. You don't have to be so restrained here in this palace. Yen Moli's mother died early, and was taken up by the queen. Naturally, Lu Qianqian's relationship with Yen Moli is clear. Therefore, she will always maintain one or two. Mo Shanghua also knows their relationship. Only a faint smile, not pursuing. She didn't think she was so plump that even the queen could offend. When the queen saw that the flower on the street was so knowledgeable and uplifting, she could not help but smile with satisfaction. Then she asked Lu Qianqian, who was just as curious as Lu Qianqian, "How can your face recover so well?" It must be a woman's curiosity that the scars that were so terrible at the beginning are now recovered. The queen finally asked what she thought in her heart. Lu Qianqian could not help leaning forward slightly. She was also anxious and curious. When she left Yuzhou, she did not know how many precious ointments she used to recover the scratch on her face. Now Mo Shanghua is not only completely recovered, but also more beautiful than before. How can she not be jealous? Mo Shanghua's expression remained unchanged and he spoke blandly. Maybe it's God's protection. In addition, there is no other word, obviously not prepared to let the two of them know. But Lu Qianqian didn't believe it at all. She couldn't help asking, "My sister is joking. I think you must have met some treasure and a good doctor on your side. That's how you can recover." Empress such as this year old, heard this words, immediately in the heart slightly itch, also slightly look forward to the flowers. But frowning, he looked at Lu Qianqian with disapproval. "The best beauty medicine in the world is in the palace. How can I get it?" After a pause, her eyes flashed, and her tone was quite meaningful. What could such a magical thing be if it wasn't for God's pity and protection? Everyone knows why she was disfigured at the beginning, but now she says it's God's protection that can restore her appearance. It's like beating Lu Qianqian's face. Lu Qian's delicate cheek was slightly stiff, and she said, "What my sister said is. This is two people's business, don't want to Empress," but at this time wrung eyebrow. After a moment's silence she said abruptly, "Since you've come back today, I've met you. You should go back to Yuxiangfu to have a look. It's your mother's home anyway. This time, it's my turn to be in a bad mood." The Empress's words are clearly against her good intentions. Lu Qianqian saw that the Empress was leaning towards herself, and held the handkerchief tightly all the time. Then she relaxed and said happily, "It's just right. My elder sister doesn't know that I stay in the house all day long, and I don't even have a person who can speak his own words. Now my elder sister comes back, and she happens to be my companion. Sister, farewell to Yuzhou. I've been missing you for a long time. I wish you were dead." Mo Shanghua knows Lu Qianqian's hypocritical mouth most clearly. There is a bit of irony in her eyes, and the corners of her lips are gently provoked. "If that's true, it's time for me to leave everything in the house and go to chat with my sister?" Lu Qianbei bit her lip lightly, and her eyes were full of grievances. "Sister, don't get me wrong. I just miss my sister so much that I forgot that there are so many things in her house." Mo Shanghua's eyes were clear and fixed on her. The look in her eyes was not clear. "It's okay if you miss it, you can come to my house as a guest. I can do anything, of course." Lu Qianqian immediately replied with a smile, but turned to frown again. "It's just that my sister. After all, I've been under my father's knee for many years, but now I haven't seen him for a year. I think my father is missing him." The Empress saw this and even opened her mouth. "You should be filial. Two people you a word I a sentence. Clearly all know the tangle of Mo Shanghua and Lu Bohan, but they all pretend to know the appearance," repeatedly remind. However, Mo Shanghua got married as a concubine in the Prime Minister's mansion, and there was no room for her to refute. The flower on the street looked at Lu Qianqian with a smile, and said deliberately, "The Empress has mentioned it once before. Why should my sister mention it again?" Lu Qianqian's lips are stiff, some embarrassed don't pass an eye, "But it just happens to be here. If my sister doesn't like it, I won't say it." The last sentence once again changed the world, and it became more and more unfilial. However, Mo Shanghua doesn't care about filial piety, and doesn't want to argue more about it. The corner of her lips was slightly raised, and the bottom of her eyes was slightly mocked. This kind of vision, only to see the heart of Lu Qian inexplicably restless up, hanging in the side of the slender hand slightly bent up. The empress at the top of the picture looks unhappy. It's useless. However, such a confrontation risks a disadvantage. I'm tired. Please kneel down. The queen's body tilted to the side of the armchair with gilt phoenix pattern, and her eyes were tired. Mo Shanghua almost immediately stood up to salute the queen and kneel down. When Lu Qianqian slowly got up, she was ready to leave. But the standard of etiquette is not wrong, but it's faster, and it's not wrong at all. In this way, it seems that Lu Qianqian is neglecting. She clenched her teeth and saluted busily. When she stood up, the flowers on the street had already gone out of the hall. She still had a few words not to say with Mo Shanghua, so she hastened to catch up. But did not expect, just went out and ran into such a scene. Only a few meters away, Mo Shanghua calms down and talks with Yan Moli. I don't know what to say. Yan Moli lips slightly smile, seems to be in a good mood, two sleeves of the black robe, because of the strong wind blowing drum. The plain hand in her sleeve immediately clenched tightly, and the envious color at the bottom of her eyes turned. However, she quickly adjusted, stepped forward, extremely elegant salute, clear and beautiful face with a gentle smile. Qianqian, please say hello to King Ling. Yan Moli Light has not yet had time to sweep over. The flowers on the street will look over, lips light pick. Originally I stand so secret, easy to let people find not. Lu Qianqian's half-squatted body was frozen in the same place again. It wasn't when he got up. It wasn't when he didn't get up. His hands were almost trembling. The servant girl behind her, Wu Yu, said quickly, "Our young lady always wants to see each other one by one. My sister's usual rules must be excellent." That servant girl words haven't finished. Mo Shangflower then directly interrupted her words. Lu Qianqian is a stiff. The body has been squatting slightly numb. The body gently trembled. Eyes slightly wet. Sister, charming jade just want to explain for me. She is not intentional. Sister want to punish me. Such a pitiful look. A man will feel pity when he sees it. Sure enough, Yan Mo immediately opened his mouth and made it through. But little things, Miss Lu doesn't have to worry. Let's get up first. Charming jade hurried to help Lu Qian, and did not dare to delay. Qinya follows Mo Shanghua. When she enters the palace, she is holding her breath all the way. At the moment, she is talking to the charming jade capital. Seeing Yan Moli like this, she can't bear it. Princess. Qinya gathered around the flowers in the street, whispering and stopping. Mo Shanghua shook her head gently, then looked at Yan Moli. Your Highness said that it is right. In fact, I don't mean anything else, but I can't help talking when I see that Miss Lu is very good at mathematics, but the girl around me is so good. On the surface, although Lu Qianqian was let go, there was no other meaning. Lu Qianqian awkwardness, simply opened the topic. I haven't seen your Highness for a long time. I don't know if your Highness is to come with the Queen to say hello? Yan Moli was brought up by the Empress. It's natural that he should come to greet the Empress. Yan Moli nodded slightly and said with a faint smile, Why did you come out with Princess Yu? My sister and I just happened to meet. Maybe God wants us to meet earlier. Lu Qianqian lips slightly pursed, smile of soft and shy. It's like they haven't seen each other next year. The flower on the street couldn't listen to her, so she retreated quietly and said, Your Highness, since you have a good time with Miss Lu, I won't accompany you. With that, he turned around and left without hesitation. Lu Qianqian naturally wants to go away quickly, so that she can get along with Yan Moli more. After all, for the sake of his plan, Yan Moli seldom contacts with her outside. Yan Moli see this. Nature is not easy to say anything, only slightly nodded. Is the Lord back? The flowers on the street step forward and ask in a low voice. Although I've been waiting outside the hall just now, I haven't seen the little guy around the king come to reply. Although the queen has been out of the work, but Qinya still dare not presumptuous, speak in a low voice, careful tight. I'm afraid that if I make a mistake, I'll get into trouble. Mo Shanghua didn't notice Qinya's tension, but he didn't mention it. He just nodded. Let's go to the palace gate first. This is a palace after all. It's good for Qinya to be careful. On the other side of Yanbei City, the emperor wanted to keep him more. As for whether it's the drama of father-son affection or more reprimand, it's not clear. Just think of a corner then bumped into just still in the heart-belly fey of Yan North City. He is still like that. He is neither warm nor angry, but he is not very steady and mature. He is a dandy of a noble family. However, only the flowers on the street can understand the haze under his eyes. Mo Shanghua had not opened his mouth, so he turned and walked in front of him. Mo Shanghua thinks that he may have some scruples, so he follows him silently. When she got to the carriage and drove away from the palace, she broke the silence with Baorong Emperor's suspicious mind. This possibility is naturally great. Yan Beiqing didn't answer. His thin lips were tightly closed, and his whole body was filled with the coldness of strangers. The flower on the street frowned and said again, "What's the situation like? Have you been reprimanded?" But even so, Yan Beiqing's character should not be like this. There was another silence, and only the sound of wooden wheels grinding on the ground could be heard in the carriage. For a long time, Yan Beiqing closed his eyes slightly and vomited out a mouthful of turbid qi. Thinking of Beirongdi's cold and emotionless eyes, and his disgust when his eyes touched the red birthmark on his face, his depression became more and more heavy. He thought about how it would be like to see Emperor Baorong again as King Yu, but when he saw it, there was still a trace of reluctance in his heart. He thought that Beirongdi might still play with his hypocrisy, but he even disdained disguise, as if he were his disgrace. A reprimand made him quit in a hurry. Just like that, he will not be able to use his kindness anymore. Thinking of this, the gloom in his eyes was covered. He pulled his lips and said, "It's just that you're talking with Yan Moli. It's not smooth in my heart." After that, he grabbed the soft hand of Mo Shanghua and put it on his chest. He said, "I warn you that I can't speak to him more than 3 sentences in the future, otherwise, I will turn over." No more than 3 sentences? Please say hello and say goodbye. In this way, you can only say 1 word. Even she can, but Yan Moli can't say nothing. Doesn't she respond at all? Mo Shanghua has not yet thought about the authenticity of his words. He was attracted by the sentence no more than 3 sentences. A little thought made her laugh and cry. What kind of overlord clause are you talking about? The corner of the flower's lips on the street tilted up slightly and said with a smile, "If others say that I don't know the etiquette and respect the royal family?" Yan North City face does not change color, rightfully and boldly of mouth. That then calculate on my head. As he spoke, his palms tightened a little. Mo Shanghua's eyes are dim. Although it's just a little movement, maybe even he doesn't realize it. She catches it acutely, including a touch of gray at the bottom of his eyes. With a slight smile on her lips, she hesitated and leaned forward. She nestled in Yan Beiqing's arms and said in a soft voice, "Okay, I'll listen to you." Yan North City didn't speak, tightly embrace her shoulder, bottom dark color slightly slow. And Lu Qianqian sighed. Without the existence of Mo Shanghua, she is in a good mood. Her lips are smiling, and her eyes are watery. She looks at Yan Moli. "Your Highness, I haven't seen you for a long time, but recently things are busy? You should pay attention to rest." After a pause, she took a sachet from her hand and said with a smile, "Your Highness, this thing has calming effect." "You, Miss Lu." Yan Moli obviously did not have the patience to listen to Lu Qianqian's words. He had no expression on his face. "I'm afraid my mother has been waiting for a long time. I'm not suitable to stay in this hall for a long time." All of Lu Qian's soft shyness froze at the moment, and her eyes darkened. After a while, she forced herself to bow and salute, "Your Highness." If it's just so good, but Yan Moli's face is gentle and respectful, but he is cold to Lu Qianqian. Only in front of people can he show a little smile. Think of here, Lu Qian's heart is a burst of bitterness. But never thought more heart is still behind. When Yan Moli passed her, he didn't forget to lower his voice and said coldly, Remember your identity. Just a word. Let Lu Qian such as falling ice cellar, facial expression almost out of control. Enchanting Jade sees this. In the heart ruthlessly jumped to remind of busy week. Young lady, we want to go out palace? After a long time, Lu Qianqian nodded, put his hand on her arm and walked forward. Palm can't help but slightly force. Slender nails stab into the tender meat on the arm of Charming Jade. Charm Jade already used to, but still pain pale, but a voice also dare not send out, carefully helped her to go. At this time Lu Qian's brain cannot help but across some of her heart and lung pain picture. In the dark chamber, she knelt on the cold ground in black, and in front of her was Yen Moli. In private, Yen Moli is cold and fierce. He even disdains to give her a handout in his eyes. He just says coldly, "The plan has already started. From tomorrow on, you will be the Prime Minister Qianqian." She was full of excitement. She thought, so she finally has a matching identity to marry him. But did not expect. And then in exchange for Yen Moli did not have the slightest emotional ups and downs of a word. In order to avoid suspicion, you should not have too close contact with me outside in the future. You must grasp the right Prime Minister, and make good use of his guilt. Nothing else. She couldn't help looking up and asking, "When will your Highness marry me?" Her full face of hope, but only in exchange for him a cold to the extreme, even slightly ironic sentence. The palace to marry the Prime Minister's loss for many years is the real daughter, not you. Her heart was stabbed, pain of her almost breathless, but also can only bow light answer. Yes. The thought of this scene, and all that is happening now, makes her heart ache. However, she is not reconciled after all, still thinking that after she married Yen Moli, she will turn the tide. However, Yen Moli is fickle after all, which will only make her more painful and heartbroken in the future. Are you going back to the Prime Minister's house? Yen Beiqing suddenly heard Mo Shanghua's words, his brows tightened, and his eyes disapproved. That place, I think you still don't want to go back. I'll try my best not to let those people have the chance to break their mouths. Seeing that he was so worried, the flower on the street gave him a reassuring look and said, "What can I do?" As the Queen said personally, "If I really don't go, it will be a blow to the Queen's face, and the Queen will be angry. In her present status, she is not qualified to face the Queen." Yen Beiqing's eyebrows were tightly locked, and the folds between his eyebrows could almost kill a fly. He was clear about the details of the flowers on the street, but how could he let her jump into the fire pit alone? "No, if so I'll go with you." Sitting on one side of the South Crane, at the moment can't help pulling the lip, said, "Your Highness will be energetic again. Then all this way of play is not in vain." Said, she endured the disgust in the heart, to the stranger flower way. With her means how can be bullied? She fought with Mo Shanghua secretly for many times. How could she not know her means? Although she had to stop now, she still didn't have a good face for Mo Shanghua, and didn't even bother to cover it up. Yen Beiqing won't feel for her anymore. They all knew how disgusted she was with the flowers on the street. There was no need for her to disguise. Yen Beiqing's eyes sank, and his knife-like eyes fell on Nanhee's face. Although there are no words, the meaning is obvious. South Crane turned his head, different from his eyes, red lips pursed into a straight line. Mo Shanghua is not a narrow-minded person. Knowing that what Nanhee said is right, he said, "What she said is reasonable. I'll see. You'd better play your role." The South Crane turns his head to see the flowers on the street, and his eyes are surprised. Mo Shanghua just looked at her with a light look. "I'm just focusing on the overall situation." After a pause, she said, "Just like your mood, it's not that you have forgotten your worries." The South Crane Maucolor complex looked at her one eye, silent for a long time, just rational explanation. The method that the Lord thinks is to fight to oneself wrong place just, can Empress is unusual. You originally have no mother imperial concubine protection. At this time should not offend Empress. Mo Shanghua gently nodded, eyes clear also from the perspective of the overall situation. South Crane said, "Well, besides, I am not half identity, Lu Bohan is not good. really do something to me, that but to involve his official voice. When it comes to the back, especially when the sentence half identity is not available, the flowers on the street cannot help but hook their lips, full of ridicule. At the beginning, she married as a concubine in the Prime Minister's mansion. I think it's ironic. However, since Liu Bohan didn't kill her at that time, now he doesn't want to make half a profit on her. Yan Beiqing pondered for a while, as if thinking about something. A moment later, just raised his head, slightly nodded. I'll send more people to follow you. At the moment, Nanhe has recovered his mind. Hearing Mo Xianghua say so, he can't help but say, even if she goes alone, she will never have anything to do. When talking, Yan Beiqing's eyes changed, and he was no longer proud and charming, which was the same as other people. Just deep in the eyes, in the end, is hiding integral unwilling, a bit of resentment. If not, she will not repeatedly contradict. Mo Xianghua also saw her knife mouth at the moment, and then gave her a little smile, with a cold voice. I will not be like you in general, to their grievances. To be wronged by a word is like a dull hammer, which smashes the disguise of uneasiness and resentment in her heart, and tears open the real idea in her heart. Mo Xianghua sees this, but just smiles. Without saying more, she gets up and pulls Yan Beiqing out. The three of them discussed it in Nanhe's bedroom. They had already rejected all the people, and there were special people guarding it secretly. It was very quiet around. Mo Xianghua turned to Yan Beiqing and said, Nanhe is not a mediocre person. It would be your great fortune if she could wake up completely and stop indulging in the inner house. Yan Beiqing naturally understood this truth. If not, he would never have spared him because of the fact that Nanhe had dared to lay hands on Mo Xianghua several times before. However, he was quite surprised by the situation today. She's been with me for years, just grateful to me. Yan Beiqing thought about it carefully, and then he said seriously, however, I'm quite surprised by her performance today. But the flower on the street began to smile. The corner of her lip gently tilted up and said with a smile, she must be very angry. She can't fight me, and she can't turn a face with you, so she just turned a blind eye. How do you know what she thinks? Yan Beiqing didn't believe it, but asked. In fact, Mo Xianghua's guess is not half reasonable. She is very confident in her own statement, and she shakes her head with a smile in a very good mood. Women's mind, Your Highness, don't ask, don't guess. Seeing the rare smile of the flowers in the street, Yan Beiqing's cold face also had a smile. He pretended to be proud and said, don't guess you. A word did not finish. Then the flower suddenly strode out, turned to face him, half smile on the face, even a little more condensation. Yan Beiqing was stunned. Before he could react, he heard Mo Xianghua speak coldly. Since Your Highness doesn't want to go back to the Prime Minister's residence with me, I will go back myself. Say we'll brush away. Before leaving, don't forget to use the mouth, quietly said. Do the whole set. Then he turned and left. Yan Beiqing was just talking with Mo Xianghua. Her eyes were full of her, but she didn't notice that they were standing in the courtyard now, and the servant girl and the little fellow were far ahead, although dare not approach, but the vision also saw with their side of the movement. Mo Xianghua's action just now, although there is no mistake, but obviously deliberately choked him. Yan Beiqing couldn't laugh or cry. She also learned to wait for revenge. Although he thought so, he had to look very angry and kicked a vase. I've done a lot of things since I was near Japan, and I've been reprimanded by my father. How dare you come here and find me unhappy? I tell you I will never go. Mo Xianghua has not gone far, listening to his words, will not head, only quietly look at Aunt Zhang's expression not far away. Although she looked at Yan Beiqing for a long time, her eyes were always on Yan Beiqing, who was in a hurry and in a bad mood, and her eyes turned a few times. Mo Xianghua sneers in her heart. She doesn't show any on her face. She walks forward coldly. Qinya heard them from afar, and hurriedly went forward with a worried face. Princess, are you okay? The Lord was in the house just now. How about you? Mo Xianghua is very relieved in her heart, but her face is deliberately cold. When she got back to her bedroom, she said coldly, I'm not happy about being scolded by my father. He's just making excuses for going to the brothel restaurant. I have nothing to say with him, just go by myself. Aunt Zhang stood listening and turned her eyes. She couldn't help saying, "The Lord has just returned to Beijing. Is it difficult that he was reprimanded by His Majesty in the palace today?" Mo Shanghua didn't bring Aunt Zhang into the palace today. She was bored in the palace. Now she heard the news, so she was busy asking. The flower on the street seemed to notice what he had said, a little annoyed and unnatural. A moment later, she said with a cold face, "What I said to you before, Aunt Zhang forgot so soon." Aunt Zhang said with a smile, "Yes, I'm talkative." But he said in his heart, "In the end, a young man will always show his flaws." And she had guessed that the princess was just a tiger in paper. Even if the king's heart can't be won over, he can only bluff to deal with them. Thinking of this, she was suddenly elated. Qinya looked at Aunt Zhang's appearance just now, then she was disgusted and said, "You go out first." Aunt Zhang was in a good mood, but she didn't say much about it. She walked out neatly. As soon as Aunt Zhang went out, Qinya came forward again and asked nervously, "Princess, what's the matter? Is the Lord really angry?" After Mo Shanghua came back from the palace, she only sat in her room for a while, then went to Yan Beicheng, who was resting at the South Crane, and said that she would discuss how to return to the Prime Minister's residence in a few days, but also rejected everyone. No one knew what had happened. However, they were so angry that she was really worried. Originally, the prince was half-hearted. One moment, Mrs. Nan and the other came to pester the princess. It was really exasperating and helpless. Never thought. Just now also a face of anger did not disappear on the flower. Now in front of her, lips suddenly hook face smile. Qinya done when the mind understand, deeply exhaled a breath. Fortunately, just a white worry. It seems that this time it's acting again. However, she turned to think about it, but immediately worried. But just now, the Lord said he wanted you to go back alone. She frowned and walked in the room. That Miss Lu is not a good friend. She used to hurt you so much. How can you go back by yourself? Mo Shanghua's entanglement with Lu Qianqian has long been known by Qinya, and now she is more and more worried. Mo Shanghua rubs her eyebrows and pulls Qinya back, but says, "She has never been cheap here. Don't worry, I can handle it." Qinya thought of Lu Qianqian's angry but forbearing face, and her heart fell a little. Seeing this, she immediately sent her out to prepare some things, so that she would not think too much when she was free. She is not nervous yet, but she does harm to Qinya and doesn't listen to anxiety. Lu Qian is not happy in the heart, is to return to the right prime minister's house, is also a bad mood appearance. As a result, in the evening meal, they all look listless and don't eat much. Lu Qianqian is Lu Bohan's lost treasure. Now when she sees something wrong with her, she puts down her bowl and chopsticks. "Qianqian, what's the matter with you today? How are you so depressed?" Lu Qianqian saw this but just shook his head, squeezed out a smile. "Just today's poor appetite, nothing, father, don't worry." Having said that, the reluctance is really worrying. Lu Bohan looks at the charming jade. She had been told in private for a long time. At the moment, Lu Bohan looked at herself and hesitated for a moment. Yes, it was the Empress who called the young lady into the palace to talk today. She happened to meet Princess Yu. She was sincere, but Princess Yu embarrassed her everywhere, regardless of her friendship. She seems to be such a character. When she talks about such things, she looks submissive with her head down. Seeing this, Lu Qianqian turned around and took a deep look at the charming jade from the angle that Lu Bohan couldn't see. He said angrily, "Charming jade, don't talk nonsense." After biting her lips, she pinched herself secretly, and her face was a little angry. "Master, I dare not cheat you with all my life today. Do you know that from the first day when Princess Yu came back, the young lady quietly sent people to visit her, but she was insulted and framed again. Nowadays many people in the city are saying that the young lady is hypocritical, and that one by one she speaks ill. That's ridiculous." Lu Bohan's face turned red with anger, and he patted the table hard, shaking with the food. The anger in the house also followed to suppress down. The servant girls and boys even dare not breathe in the atmosphere. Lu Qianqian, who was usually gentle and weak, frowned at the moment and scolded. Charming Jade, don't say any more. Charming Jade heart is a loose. The face installed not reconciled appearance, unwilling to shut up. Seeing this, Lu Qianqian quickly got up to Lu Bohan, sighed, and said in a warm voice, Father, what Charming Jade said is not all true. Now that my sister is a princess, she knows more about rules than I do. How can she care with me at will? After a pause, she said again, Father, it's the daughter who is not good and makes you angry. But sister, she's going to visit her in the mansion in a few days. Don't be angry with her. Seemingly comforting words are like adding fuel to the fire. Lu Bohan's face was even more ugly and said in a deep voice, She's not your sister. At the thought of this, he became more and more angry. I don't have this daughter, and the Prime Minister doesn't welcome her, Princess Yu. Lu Qianqian sees this. Mao Nei done when filled with tears, voice took cry cavity. Is the daughter is not good, will only let the father angry, if the gas bad body. The daughter is 10,000 dead also not enough atonement. She was thin, and now her body was shaking slightly, which made Lu Bohan feel sorry. He hastily slowed down his voice and comforted Wen Sheng. It's not your fault. It's Dad's bad. He was angry in front of you again. You're not in good health. Don't cry. Lu Qianqian effort to curl his mouth and smile, still have tears on his face. That father promised his daughter, after a few days sister back, you must not be difficult for her. Lu Bohan's face turned black again. You don't have to speak for her. She is so comfortable now that she even forgot her identity. She doesn't remember it, but I remember it. I remember that she was a fake, cheated herself of her love for more than 10 years, and even did such things as killing her mother. When he thought about it, he wished he could strangle her. Lu Qianqian was very happy, but he looked like he wanted to cry. Father, although my sister is a princess now, she married as your daughter and has been filial to you for many years. Even if you don't want to see her, you can see the face of the Empress. In other words, it is to mention old things again, and it is to mention the Queen intentionally, which will only make Lu Bohan more depressed and angry. Sure enough, Lu Bohan's face was dark and pondered for a long time before he gritted his teeth and said, Okay. She was forced by the Queen. Well, if she wants to, I'll do what she wants. Mo Shanghua took a few days to go to Yuxiangfu on the pretext of many things in the mansion. It's not that she is timid, but she doesn't know how to deal with Lu Bohan. After all, it was the original owner's biological father, and the love of the past decades was not adulterated. In the final analysis, all this is because today's Lu Qianqian, this fake. But he shouldn't be so unfeeling. He didn't want to give her half a living. Well, it depends. The carriage slowly stopped in front of the main gate of the Prime Minister's mansion, and Mo Shanghua stepped on the wood and stepped off the carriage. However, the Prime Minister's mansion is as graceful as ever, but it is also very cold. When the daughter of another family comes back to the house, they are all welcomed. What's more, she is a daughter married to a royal family as a princess. It's good for others to welcome her happily without beating gongs and drums. But now, in front of the Prime Minister's house, there is no servant girl waiting. Mo Shanghua Maoguang suddenly cool. Raise a hand to press the place of own heart. She thought that the original owner had already died away, but she had some fluctuation after such a long time. It's a kind of unspeakable grief, sadness. Qinya looked from left to right. Seeing that no one paid any attention, she could not help but turned her lips. The maidservant married a girl in her hometown, and went home to visit her relatives. Everyone in her family wanted to come out to meet her. The flowers on the street closed their eyes slightly. After a while, they opened their eyes again. The inside of their eyes was clear and bright. Since no one was interested, she went in by herself. No one in this house dares to bully her or humiliate her. Thinking of this, she strode toward the front door of the Prime Minister's residence. The gatekeeper had already seen the flower on the street and others. Now he was looking at it. He was shocked to see the flower's face. This how to return a responsibility. The young lady isn't to ruin appearance? Yes, it's impossible. Too small see stare big eyes to see again see. Lung is didn't see what so however. If it was his young lady, the fake, she would have been destroyed long ago. They have all seen such a tragic degree. Normal people would be terrified when they saw it. How could it be recovered? As like as two peas, the appearance of the person before him is clear. See you. What the hell? A young man bravely stepped forward. Here, miss, who are you? The flower on the street glanced at them lightly. Chinya immediately stepped forward and said, This is our princess Yu, going back and forth to visit her parents. How can it be? The boy cried out in surprise. The flowers on the street don't pay attention to it. They walk in. The young man responded and quickly came forward to stop him. He was shocked at the bottom of his heart and said, Little no princess. The master has told you that if you are a common girl, you should enter the palace through the small gate. The flower on the street steps slightly, the complexion condenses down. As expected, Lu Bohan still hated her. If it wasn't for her royal face, I'm afraid she wouldn't even be allowed to enter. Chinya has been following Emo Shanghua for a long time. She immediately reacts and scolds with a cool face. Bold, the princess is a royal family, just like the prime minister's office. She has the right to let the royal family into the small gate. Does she not despise the royal family? So big a hat buttoned down. The small C is immediately miserable, quickly knelt down. Small dare not, you please come in. Emo Shanghua looks back and nods to Chinya. Chinya winks at her with a proud face. They just entered the mansion. Just now, the little fellow did not dare to neglect him any more. He followed the way. This prime minister is no longer the home of Emo Shanghua. Therefore, Emo Shanghua's eyes did not look at the superfluous place. And wait until the main hall. Emo Shanghua finally saw Lu Bohan. Lu Bohan is nearly 50 years old. He has white hair on his temples. He is gentle and elegant in appearance, and has excellent spirit. However, as soon as he saw the flower on the street, his face collapsed completely. He sat in the main position without saying a word, holding a cup of tea, as if he didn't see the flower on the street. As soon as Lu Qian arrived at the gate, he saw such a state. His steps stopped immediately, and he simply hid at the gate and waited to see the play. The flower ear power on the street is very good. Lu Qianqian's footstep has already passed into her ear, and the corner of her lip suddenly gently hooks. Just want to see a joke, so might as well like her. This idea passed in the heart once again. And then Emo Shanghua paced and sat down on the other side of the theme, with elegant and generous steps. Lu Bohan's face suddenly pulled down and yelled in a deep voice. Who allowed you to sit down but you still sit with me? Where have you lost all your rules? On this aspect, in his impression of Emo Shanghua, he was still obedient and clever before the accident. Yes, she has learned the rules. She must have done it on purpose now. What she did was to hit him in the face. Thinking of this, Lu Bohan was even more angry and almost roared out. Get out of here! He was full of anger, and because of the reason that the stranger lowered his head, he couldn't see her face clearly, but he didn't respond very much. Emo Shanghua didn't look at him at all. She took the teacup and said without raising her head, I'm Princess Yu now. I'm a royal family. Why should I salute you? It's right to sit here. After a pause, she glanced up at Lu Bohan and said, Why, should I kneel down and wait for the Prime Minister to reprimand? If it goes out. She lengthened the ending, but did not go on. Lu Bohan naturally knows what she means, but he just can't calm down in front of the flower's face. Moreover, Emo Shanghua is his daughter in name after all, and he is even less likely to lose face in front of her. Therefore he immediately sneered and said, That's it. I'm your father. Unfilial is the most important thing. Except that you don't want to be who you are, you can have a try. I gave you everything. If I hadn't let you go, you would have lived to this day. Emo Shanghua raised her eyes and looked at Lu Bohan quietly. Although there is anger on the face, calm is still there, and the conditioning is very clear. It's not a straw bag. Unfortunately, he is still a confused and heartless man. However, before she opened her mouth, Lu Bohan's face had changed. He looked at the flower on the street in shock. It was so white and delicate that there was no flaw on his cheek. After a while, he couldn't get back to God, and even his anger could go down. In addition to shock, this face brought him more when she was the first lady in the Prime Minister's palace. However, when he thought of this, he would think of her killing her mother together. Just a little nostalgia rose in his heart, and all that was left was hatred. The corner of the flower's lips on the street was slightly raised, and there was a hint of sarcasm in his eyes. My Royal Highness, you and I were married by His Highness in person, but you said that everything I had was given by you, and you didn't pay attention to it? Lu Bohan was already angry, but now he didn't expect that Mo Shanghua had become such a smart person. When he was angry, he was short of words and he was ashamed. How dare you say that? If it comes to Emperor Baorong's ears, it's hard to explain that he is the Prime Minister. The court's crafty and sycophant will certainly seize the opportunity to pull him down. This little bastard. It's clear that he has completely changed his face, and is determined to fight against him. Lu Qianqian, who has been hiding at the door, doesn't see the good play in her imagination. Instead, she sees Lu Bohan choked and speechless. She scolds in her heart and walks out. Although appear in time, but her pace is still elegant. Eyes smile sweep to the house, as if just arrived in general. Hello, Dad. She first saluted Lu Bohan, then turned her head and looked at the flowers on the street. Before we could salute, the flower on the street spoke earlier. Isn't Miss Lu at the door? How did you come in now? His voice was flat, as if he were just saying something very common. However, it is to let Lu Qianjiao good face suddenly stiff down. Damn, this bitch really has the ability to drive her crazy. What makes her more headache is that Lu Bohan's eyes also sweep over because of the words of flowers on the street, and the remaining anger on her face does not disappear. Lu Qian secretly pinched the silk handkerchief in his hand, but he was at a loss on his face. What's elder sister talking about? While speaking, he bumped her arm against the jade. When she saw this, she lowered her head and said, as soon as our young lady arrived in the hall, the princess must have been mistaken. Lu Qian nodded slightly and said with a smile, today when my sister comes, there are more servant girls waiting outside. It must be my sister's mistake. Mo Shanghua raised her eyes and stared at her without smiling. Her red lips said softly, oh, you say it is. Lu Qianqian becomes more and more embarrassed. Instead of talking to the stranger, he turns to Lu Bohan, with a concerned face. Dad, what's the matter? Why is your face so ugly? Go and pour a cup of tea, charming Jade. Enchanting Jade hurriedly went forward to change a cup of hot tea. Lu Qianqian carefully held up. Father, you first drink a cup of tea, have a good rest. Lu Bohan was obviously very helpful, and his complexion gradually eased a lot. Mo Shanghua looks at the father's kindness and daughter's filial piety in front of her eyes, and her eyes are suddenly dyed with the color of ridicule. My father is very kind. She lifted her red lips and sneered. Lu Bohan's just relaxed face darkened again. I don't have your daughter. Don't call me father. Oh. Mo Shanghua nodded. Lips suddenly gently hook up, smiling. Lu Xiang. It is clear that Lu Bohan's mind is obeyed, but his heart is unspeakable, so he takes a big sip of tea. Mo Shanghua looks at Lu Bohan so angry, but just takes her helpless appearance. The mood is more smooth. Lu Qianqian naturally can't see the flowers on the street so proud. If not identity does not allow, she would have rushed up to tear her face. However, even if it can't be like this, she will never let the flowers live better. Thinking of this, she turned to look at Lu Bohan and said, Father, now my sister has come back. In a few days it will be my mother's birthday again. Let my sister go to worship with me. After a pause she continued, Mother's birthday is in the dark, and it conflicts with the birthday of the Empress Dowager. It can't be publicized. Now let my sister worship, and my mother will be comforted. Lu Bohan's face suddenly changed when he heard the speech. He suddenly stood up, and his teacup fell to the ground. Son of a bitch. Lu Qian's face turned pale. Mo Shanghua looks at Lu Bohan as a clown, with a deeper smile on his lips and full of sarcasm. Lu Qianqian's scheming surprised her, but Lu Bohan's reaction eventually disgusted her. After her mother gave birth to me, Lu Bohan may not have loved her mother much, but he respected her like a guest. Now she looks like this just because of his face. Lu Bohan was shamed by her existence because she sent killers to pursue her many times before. It's funny to see how he behaves now. Lu Bohan is on the head of gas, did not notice the appearance of flowers on the street, otherwise, it will only be more furious. Now his face turned red and his forehead was blue. He pointed to Lu Qianqian with a shaking hand and said angrily, "Did you forget how your mother died? Now that you have asked for this, you want to show your mother that she still can't rest under the spring of spring." Lu Qianqian knelt down with her skirt in her hands, tears falling in her eyes, a delicate appearance of pear blossom with rain. "Father, daughter doesn't mean that. But after all, my sister is also your daughter, that is, she has no blood relationship. In the eyes of outsiders, she is your daughter." She choked for a while and continued, "Whether it's you or me, our every move will fall in the eyes of outsiders. Now that my sister has come out of the cabinet, I don't want to mention the past. If my father can't carry it clearly, he will give the handle to others." She said in tears. Every sentence was sincere, all for their father and daughter, for the Prime Minister's consideration. Lu Bohan calmed down, but he was still angry and said coldly, "This is my official's family affair. Who dares to say more?" Mo Shanghua looked at it for a long time, and suddenly he began to smile. His face was an undisguised taunt. "Lu Xiangrua is not afraid of people's words, why don't he even let me in?" Lu Bohan, the green veins on his forehead jumped fiercely, and his face was full of anger. "Don't push your inch, let alone think that I really dare not do anything about you." "Oh," Mo Shanghua nodded, but there was no fear on her face, and she didn't care about the general. "If you dare come." She obviously knows best how to make a person faint. Lu Bohan is in such a state at this time. His hand trembled, pointing to the flowers on the street, but he couldn't say a word for a long time. After all, Mo Shanghua's identity today, he really can't move. The emperor's relatives and nobles, even if they are the concubines of a prince who is not in favor, can't be moved easily. When he was angry, he walked away directly. From his steps, we can see how angry he was. Seeing that Lu Bohan was so angry, the flowers on the street felt much smoother in his heart. After all, Lu Bohan is related to her body. She can't do it. It's good to kill him like this. Seeing this, Lu Qianqian wiped the tears on his face. On his pale face, which was still stained with tears, he pulled out a reluctant smile. My father agreed. Don't be surprised, my sister. He just can't open his face. Mo Shanghua didn't even look at Lu Qianqian. She stood up and walked out. Then he said to a servant girl outside the door, lead the way to the ancestral temple. As for Lu Qian, she's tired of looking at the flowers on the street, and she has nothing new. It's a waste of time talking to her. Lu Qianqian. I'm not sure. At the moment, she realized Lu Bohan's anger. She broke her silver teeth and quickly followed up. The ancestral hall of the Prime Minister's residence is dedicated to the ancestors of the Lu family in all ages. They pay homage only to their own mother. At the moment, she took off her whole body spirit, knelt down devoutly and earnestly, and bowed respectfully 3 times. Since she has taken over the body, the mother of the original owner is also her mother, and she will surely avenge her. You all go out. Lu Qianqian followed closely into the ancestral hall, and ordered others to quit. Then, like Mo Shanghua, he knelt down beside her and said in a soft voice, Mother, you must protect my sister and me and my father. He misses you very much. Then he would kowtow. Mo Shanghua suddenly stood up and grabbed her hand, which made her unable to kowtow. Although she was looking at the thin and weak, she was very energetic. Lu Qianqian had never practiced martial arts, and her body was also thin. She suddenly exhaled in pain and looked at her with tears in her eyes. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.